Hello and welcome to the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser from CCX Media. Joining us, Heidi Nelson, Maple Grove City Administrator. Welcome once again, Heidi. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you.
We've got the June 1st meeting to talk about. It was about 1 hour and 50 minutes. One of the items took about 45 minutes. We'll get to that in a few minutes. And also, as always, a number of things happening in the city, and we'll give you a recap of some of the things coming up in just a few minutes. So let's start with the council meeting. Nothing to pull from consent. The first item under the special business was Senator Warren Limmer giving a little recap. Tell us what he had to say and the thoughts he has looking forward to the special session.
Yeah, so it was nice to have Senator Limmer with us. He came out to provide an update. He's been working hard this session on, in the regular session on the two bonding proposals that the city of Maple Grove has, one for the completion of 610 and the other for the expansion of the North Metro Range and training facility. So he provided an update, and I think, certainly we're in uncertain times here as we're responding to the death of George Floyd and all the community to that. And so it certainly is going to change the topic or the focus of the special session here that would start June 12th to, things focused on police reform and equity and racial equity issues, those kinds of things. So we're preparing for that. We're ready, if a bonding bill starts to get put together. We think that there's good things in our North Metro Range law enforcement training facility expansion project, in that one of the big components of that is training space that provides additional opportunity for training around de-escalation and scenario-based training and critical incident response. And so, those are the kinds of things that we feel are very important here at the City of Maple Grove, the training of our officers. We have a big emphasis on de-escalation and critical incident response and mental health issues. And so some aspects of that facility expansion really focus in that area. And so we'll continue to work with our local representatives in support of that, as well as monitoring, the issues that come forward with regard to law enforcement and equity issues as well.
We will keep people up to date as the special session happens and find out what is the final result of that related to the bonding and many other items. Next on the council agenda from June 1st was Chief Warner gave a city response to the civil unrest. Give us a little recap of what the police chief had to say.
Yeah, so, for the past week and a half, I suppose, it's interesting. We quickly shifted from, the COVID emergency to the situation, the unrest in Minneapolis and the impact out in the suburbs. Last Thursday evening, experienced break-ins at some of our retail facilities. So if residents were out and about, they probably saw some of those boarded up. Some of them boarded up proactively in response to some of those concerns, but we did have some incidents last Thursday night, which then caused us on Friday, once the governor came out with the curfew that really only covered Minneapolis, St. Paul. I think a lot of communities in Hennepin County and the surrounding counties took action to implement a curfew in kind of quick order there late Friday afternoon. We were grateful that we did that. It really helped our law enforcement out to kind of know what they had on the streets. We increased our patrol significantly, and so I think we did have folks in town every night for not good reasons here in Maple Grove, and primarily targeted on our retail areas. And so with that curfew that kind of cleared the streets earlier, as well as our increased patrols, we were really able to kind of get after those issues, and we didn't have further damage or break-ins to our retail areas. And so we're appreciative of the community's help with that. Then that went through Sunday night, and then for Monday and Tuesday night, we extended and with the briefed up time periods to match what the state had done for Minneapolis and St. Paul. So it's been kind of all hands on deck since things started to shift following George Floyd's death on Monday, Memorial Day. And so now we're kind of scaling, continuing to monitor. We do have, some things, some interest in the community, some protests, those kinds of things. And so we're paying attention to that. We're monitoring, we're preparing. We do want to provide a place for people to have a voice. This is a very difficult situation and a very thing for the community to work through. And so we want to make sure we're facilitating that for the people in the community that want to have a, get together and talk about their feelings about things.
Very good. And you mentioned COVID-19, and that did take second point to this main topic, but it was discussed, and Chief Bush was still at the meeting on June 1st, had a few updates, and you have some updates as well from the Government Center. Tell us what the chief had to say, and also what's new at the Government Center and also with transit.
Yeah, so, we have the COVID situation in the backdrop of everything that's happening right now downtown and in the suburbs. And so, we had plans in place to begin to reopen our government center. So today, this morning, we started to kind of have a soft reopening of the facility, kind of get used to that new environment. We're going to start taking passport appointments again next Monday. So we're working right now to kind of catch up with those folks that either their appointment got canceled or they were on a waiting list, that kind of a thing. So we'll get back to that on Monday. So you could check, I think right now we're going to do it by phone just so we have a little bit more control over the calendar. We're going to try to space the appointments so that, hopefully people aren't coming and going at the same time, that kind of a thing. And then we're just asking people to, practice social distancing when they're in the building with their fellow residents or contractors or, business folks that happen to be here. And we just want to stress that, one thing I think that we learned through this process is that there's really not much that we can't do either over the phone, by email, or through our website. And so those things remain. And so we really just want to stress to people to continue to utilize those services. But we are, reopening the government center. And so folks need to come in. We'll be ready to serve you, but just know that things might look a little bit different when you come into the government center going forward.
Understandable. And how about an update on the transit service? What are the numbers you're seeing there, and what are some of the requirements there?
Yeah, so we ended up being suspended service, I think on Thursday, and then for Friday as well. And then I think it's suspended through Tuesday and then restarted again, through Monday and restarted again on Tuesday. Okay. So that was in response to the unrest in Minneapolis. And now as we begin service again, one of the rules that Metro Transit has enacted is that you need to wear a mask on the bus, and it is, it's close quarters in there. And, we have dramatically reduced ridership as well as dramatically reduced routes. And so we're really trying to keep that spacing on the buses, but Metro Transit has implemented that policy, and we typically kind of follow along with not only operationally, but also, policy wise. So that's kind of what you'll expect if you ride the bus from Maple Grove.
All right. And again, more information on the city's website about that bus service and the services available at the Government Center, and also the ability to do many things, as Heidi mentioned, online. Moving on the meeting from the first, we had a few public hearings. The first was somewhat of a cleanup public hearing relating to some easements and area around Lord of Life Church. Give us the recap of that item.
So we've been kind of working through, there was, and part of it remains from when Bass Lake and 101 was redone out there, and some of the old easements and right-of-ways that existed there. So as the Havenwood project there on the northwest corner of Bass Lake Road and 101 came forward, we needed to rework kind of the access points there, the right-of-way and easements between that parcel and Lord of Life. And so this piece kind of vacated some things and rededicated and sort of cleaned up that area for the access to both properties.
And the other public hearing related to Elm Road, we've talked quite a bit about this, and this is the next phase of the process, but still obviously a lot of public input and interest in this. Tell us a little bit more about this stage of that project.
Yeah, so this was the street and utility project public hearing. So we've gone through a rather public design process. We had kind of an online process to submit input through for the design process for this road, really dealing with kind of, not only landscaping elements, but stormwater issues, the width of the road, those kinds of things, traffic calming, because this is kind of a connection down there between two kind of major thoroughfares. So there was a lot of concern about speed and volume of traffic, those kinds of things. So taking all of those things into consideration, the design was put together and then brought to the council for this public hearing. We did have a couple residents come to the chambers to weigh in on the project, and I think we do have some residents that are remaining out there. A number of the properties have been acquired by the developer for redevelopment, but we do have a number of existing residents that are staying. And so, a lot of concerns about where exactly that right-of-way is, and I think that gets a little fuzzy, and in an area where you have a rural section of a gravel road and you might be landscaped up to the edge of that, and where does that right-of-way line really exist? And so engineering staff would be going out to stake some of that. So just having a better understanding of where the existing right-of-way is. We're really only going to build that road within the existing right-of-way in those areas that are not redeveloping at this time. So we're not acquiring any new right-of-way in the area. So good input, some concerns about stormwater in the area. So we talked a lot about sort of the best management practices that are being incorporated into this project. And so this one got approval and it'll move forward. And I suspect they'll get going on the project later this summer.
All right, thank you for that update. Moving ahead to some of the staff updates, community development. We've already covered a few items and we're going to cover one in greater detail later on through the EDA meeting that was held on June 1st. Ken Asheville talked a little bit about public works and engineering, and all eyes right now, if you look at the roads related to I-94, give us an update there of some things that travelers throughout the area need to know.
Yeah, so that project is really moving along. If you're out there on the corridor, you'll notice that the rest stop is now closed to all traffic, truck traffic, as well as any passenger vehicle traffic. So they're doing quite a bit of work at that rest area, and that'll be closed through November 1st. They're going to start some Maple Grove Parkway ramp closures. So again, if you're kind of moving from one end of the city to the next, you might want to consider taking the back roads because there will be some challenges getting on and off at Maple Grove Parkway. So information about that on our website as well as the MnDOT website for those specifics. And then once they switch, finish up Maple Grove Parkway, then Weaver, and then once they switch traffic to the other side, they'll switch to the other side of the freeway. But a lot of ramp work going to be going on in the next the coming month and a half or so.
All right, and the message always is just drive safely through that area and pay attention to the signs so you know which part you want to be on or not on. A few other transportation projects. Give us an update on Territorial Road and Fernbrook.
Yeah, so this is a project, there's a development project up there that some traffic concerns have been identified. And so we're working with Hennepin County to come up with some solutions up there. This one is targeted to come back to the council on June 15th. So hopefully we can get some things resolved or come up with some options prior to that time. But you'll see this one come back at the middle of the month of June.
And a final note was given by Ken about the Ryan Companies area. This is around the Maple Grove Hospital and some of the street work there. Give us the latest of what people can expect to see there.
Yeah, so Ryan Companies is moving ahead with the area up behind the hospital. If you're up in that area of Aldi or the Cambria Suites there, you'll notice that the grading is nearly complete for that road extension going between kind of that Aldi Cambria Suites area up to the Home Depot area. So that road will get in this season. And then you continue to work with the hospital in their expansion. I think they've been, certainly the COVID situation kind of reshifted their focus for a while. And there's been, with the suspension of elective surgeries, those kinds of things, I think it changed their focus for a while. And so I suspect now as we continue to move through this COVID process, how quickly they'll get back to their plans for their expansion, I think it remains to be seen, but certainly the infrastructure pieces of this project moving forward.
And then your update at the meeting on the 1st dealt with absentee voting. It is an election year and COVID has had an impact here as well. Tell us about some of the things the city is considering and looking at and what the council was asked to act on at the meeting.
Yeah, so I think every city has been trying to figure out how to deliver elections in this, situation of the pandemic, and how do we do that safely and provide that opportunity for residents. So Hennepin County had provided the opportunity for cities to kind of consider three different ways to deliver absentee voting. One would be for the entire 46 days that people could come in and absentee vote. The second was to just provide that absentee voting in person for the 7 days prior to the election. And then the other was we wouldn't provide any in-person absentee voting and that you would just utilize the mail ballot system. So council landed on the 7 days prior to the election, we would have in-person absentee voting. And the one benefit of the 7 days is that's the time period within which you can just feed your ballot right into the ballot counter. So you kind of get rid of that whole envelope process where there's a lot of, people, touching envelopes, licking envelopes, all those kinds of things. And so we kind of move away from that, and it's just the direct balloting time. So we won't start absentee voting for the primary until later into August. The primary is August 11th. So we have a bit of time to plan for that. And we're looking to kind of change the location of that. It'll still be here at the government center, but we just need to we're working on a space that has a little bit more width to the entrance and that we can keep enough spacing in place there to accommodate that. So this is only for the primary election. So, primary tends to have a smaller, smaller ballot, smaller number of races on it. And voter turnout tends to be much lower than the general. We know the general election will be significant this year. And so we're working on a plan for that. And we'll know more, as we get into the later summer, fall months, what the fall and getting into October, November will look like. So right now we're just focused on this primary election. So we'll be having the 7 days prior. We're gonna do a lot of marketing about the mail-in ballot process so that folks know they can make application for a mail-in ballot and participate in the primary election that way as well.
All right, a lot of information there, and things could change. So again, go to the city's website to keep up to date on both the primary and also the general election. Then the council moved to EDA meeting to discuss what we talked about a little bit earlier, the COVID-19 Emergency Loan Fund. And some good feedback here for the fund and some action already taking place. I understand checks being handed out today. Give us a little recap of the whole process and what some of the response has been from businesses.
Yeah, so we developed this COVID Emergency Loan Fund program for the local business community to apply for a $10,000 potentially forgivable loan from the city. And we really tried to focus it on when business was reopening so that they had, a little energy as they to reopen their businesses. So this was really more just to give an update to the council. So with the $250,000 that was dedicated out of our revolving loan fund, which are dollars specifically dedicated to economic development purposes, we were able to issue 21 loans to the community, the business community, and it was really a good mix of, from restaurants to salon and spas, dental, vision, chiropractic, fitness, retail goods, of animal-related, vet-related business. Kind of a good cross-section of the local business community that applied for and received funds. So we're hoping that this will help them as they reopen their businesses and kind of respond to the losses that they had during those shutdown periods. And we know restaurants are, kind of still reopening on the patio phase, and hopefully the weather hangs in there for us here for that to be, successful. I think one of the challenges is, what do you do when there's a rainstorm, that kind of a thing. And we're hoping that the state will continue to consider turning that dial so that our restaurants can get back to a place of potential success. So happy to get these loans out the door. I know Brett was handing out checks today to these businesses, and there was, some tears actually, and some grateful, words just saying, thank you. This is going to help us survive. And I think that's part of where this program came from, is we really have concerns about how our businesses will hang in there through this. And that has a great impact on our business community and our residents. So hopefully this program will help in that effort to keep people in business for the next few months here.
Very good. And that EDA meeting wrapped up the council meeting for the evening on June 1st again. The next council meeting will be on June 15th. And I understand at that point, they'll discuss possibly not having a meeting the beginning of July 6th. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yep. We would look to cancel that July 6th meeting, which is typical. We usually do that when that meeting falls around the 4th of July holiday. Very
good. All right, let's move ahead to some other things happening around the city of Maple Grove. We gave you a few of the updates earlier about the government center and the bus service. Summer newsletter. People should be watching for their mail. What can they expect to see?
Yeah, so the summer edition of the City Focus newsletter is available on the website, but it's also should be in your mailbox soon. And so this was a tricky one to write and to prepare. Carol Morris, our communications coordinator, put a lot of work into this because we were writing it at a time where we really didn't know, where would things be at the end of May. We had no idea about the situation that would unfold in Minneapolis. And so it's, it doesn't speak to that at all, but it speaks to the COVID situation and knowing that summer here in Maple Grove was going to look a lot different than it has in past years. And so tried to provide out a lot of positive information for the community and things that they can engage with this summer, and good information about the city. So hopefully folks will take a time to look at the newsletter. It's in their mailbox.
In the mail and also on the city's website. Also on the website, information about the photo contest. Now is the time to get your camera out. Tell us how that contest works and what residents need to do.
Yeah, so we have an online portal that you can submit photos to the photo contest. That's open through July 14th at noon. And then again, just, we utilize all those photos in our various communications, newsletter, website, social media. And so it's really great to have all those pictures that really capture, life here in Maple Grove. And then we do provide recognition for the winning photographers. We have a committee that reviews them, and also the community's choice, that kind of a thing. And so they are recognized by the city council for their contributions of those photos.
And the involvement always has been great. So get your cameras out and be involved in that process. Firefighter recruitment, give us some of the dates to remember and some of the particulars if people might have an interest here.
Yeah, so we're recruiting for paid on-call firefighters through July 12th. And so we do have some recruitment meetings that we are holding. And I should note, I think at our last update, I wasn't sure if we were doing these in person or remote on a Zoom meeting or something, but they are holding them at the fire stations. They're utilizing outdoor spaces, or if there's weather, really making sure we're keeping distancing, that kind of a thing. So we have a couple dates coming up: Monday, June 8th, Tuesday, June 16th, Wednesday, June 24th, and Thursday, July 7th. All those meetings are held at 7 p.m. and they're held at different fire stations. So information on our website about those. So go check that out. And I think it's just really important. We have signage out at all of our fire stations, but it's really important to note that, we provide all the training that you need. So we're hiring individuals who are interested in serving their community, and we'll provide you all the training that you need to do that. So if you have an interest and a willingness to serve, we'd love to hear from you.
Great, and that deadline again is July 12th, so get some more information about that. Park and Recreation Summer Activity Guide. You mentioned how the newsletter was quite a process to put together. I can imagine this had to be quite the process to put together. Give us a little overview of what the guide looks like, what it offers for residents.
Yeah, so this for this summer, we kept this brochure just online because so much was changing that it was just hard to call it when you could go to print with a document and know what programming or activities what they might look like. And we still kind of are trying to figure that out as we turn the dial here in Minnesota. So go online to the city's website, to Park and Rec, and you can find that program there, or the program guide there. And there's all kinds of programs, including outdoor yoga, Zumba, youth sports activities they're doing some of that now with smaller groups, teen programs, athletic opportunities, including tennis lessons and log rolling. That sounds interesting.
All right.
Virtual dance and art classes for kids. So we're doing a lot of online things. And then the 55 Forward program has biking and walking groups. So, despite the situation that we're in with COVID, I think there's still some great opportunities to get out and get some activity this summer. It's going to look different, but our rec programmers have really been busy trying to come up with programming that kind of fits within the guidelines. Yeah,
very creative work there. One other area that's a hub for summer activity is the Town Green. Give us the latest on the Town Green, what will and will not be happening there, at least for the short term.
Yeah, so for June and July, the performances have been canceled for now, but we are looking at some alternative performance options. Still working on that, so I guess stay tuned. We'll get information out about that on our website, social media, news media, that kind of a thing. So for now, we're just kind of waiting to see what kind of group size we can accommodate, that kind of a thing.
Understandable. The farmers market has adapted well and is going strong. Give us the latest market update, what people can expect to see there.
Yeah, so we're in the midst of our, started our summer season back middle of May, and that will go now every Thursday through October 22nd. We are there from 3 to 7 p.m. at the community center, and full, gamut of vendors that are there. And we've got a lot of guidance at the market about spacing of both vendors and customers and directions to walk through the market, that kind of a thing, extra sanitation on site. So we're really trying to pay attention to those issues surrounding COVID, and then at the same time provide the community another option for fresh produce and fresh meat, those kinds of things, to kind of add to their grocery opportunities. So make sure you check out the market every Thursday from 3 to 7 at the community center.
All right, and final item that we want to touch on today is the 2020 census. Give us a little update. I know you're following some statistics there, and the numbers are looking good for Maple Grove, but still more work to be done.
Yeah, so we have an 83.3% response rate, which is really, really remarkable. I think people have had a lot of time at home to go online and complete the survey. 78% of those have completed online, so that's a really great number. National self-response rate is about 60%, and then Minnesota overall is about 70%. So Maple Grove, thank you. You've done a great job. These are important numbers. They, have influence on congressional districts, those kinds of things, funding. So we want to make sure that everybody's counted in Maple Grove. So if you haven't had an opportunity to do that yet, you can go online and search for the census and get your information entered.
All right, I'll link through the city's website to find that information as well. Heidi, thank you very much for the information. That gets people up to date of what's new in the city of Maple Grove, and also that June 1st council meeting. Next meeting will be on June 15th. That is at 7 p.m., 7:30 p.m. I don't have that graphic in front of me today. 7:30 at the Government Center, and phone number 494-6000 for information, and maplegrovemn.gov, the place to find things on the city's website. Your response line 533-1710 if you have questions or comments for this program. For Heidi Nelson, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us on the Maple Grove City Report.